All right, hello everyone. I hope everyone is doing okay. Good afternoon, and I just want to thank you all for being on this final call. Okay, our final NLTP series final call. And this particular session, we'll have some NBAF staff. Okay, we have some biologists and everyone from all across the field who will be here. Is who just gonna just talk and share their perspective. Okay, I was seeing so I was looking at the looking at the chat, but yes, without further ado though, I want to go ahead and introduce you all to our amazing and very diverse panel. So I want to go ahead and get through the I want to go get through the amazing biographies, and then of course we're gonna go ahead and get down to business. So first I want to first introduce Dr. Michelle Zajac. I hope I got your name right, Michelle. I'm sorry if I didn't. But Michelle was born and raised in Kansas and has resided in around Manhattan since first attending Kansas State University in 2004. Dr. Zajac received a BS in biochemistry in 2009 with minoring in chemistry and anthropology from Kansas State University, and also received a master's degree in veterinary biomedical sciences, and then also have done additional training with a graduate certificate in agricultural biosecurity research from the Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine. She was also awarded a fellowship through the NBAF Scientist Training Program, where she received a PhD in pathobiology, also from Kansas State University. And following that, Dr. Zajac continued her education by doing a brief postdoctoral fellowship position with the Centers of Excellence for Emerging and Zoonotic Animal Diseases, where she combined her passion for studying swine viral disease by predicting high consequence disease behavior to aid in outbreak prevention. Next, we have Dr. Grayson Walker. Dr. Grayson Walker is a veterinary medical officer for the diagnostic services section of the Foreign Animal Disease Diagnostic Laboratory at the National Bio and Agro-Defense Facility in Manhattan, Kansas. He completed his master's degree prior to completing his PhD in DVM dual degree at North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. His master's research focused on salmonella control and poultry production, and then transitioned to broader infectious and zoonotic disease interest in a combined DVM PhD, focusing on animal bacterial disease pathogenesis and diagnostics. Dr. Walker's professional interests pertain to pathology, molecular diagnostics, and zoonotic and transboundary animal diseases. Outside of work, he enjoys cooking, traveling, and exploring outdoors while biking, backpacking, and scuba diving. Okay, wow, that's really, really nice. Scuba diving. I love that. Next, we have Kate Schumann. I hope I said your name right, Kate. Kate Schumann grew up in Wisconsin and was a contestant in her small towns Miss Butler Festival pageant. She attended Southampton College of Long Island University with a plan to major in marine biology. She also did a semester long internship at a seal rehabilitation center in the Netherlands. Occurred during a large porcine distempered outbreak. After graduating, she attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison and completed a Master's of Science degree in Animal Health and Biomedical Sciences. Over her 21 years at the Foreign Animal Disease Diagnostic Laboratory, her work has focused on the validation of diagnostic methodologies for foreign animal diseases. She has been fortunate to travel to multiple countries in Central America, Europe, Africa, and Asia to not only work on foreign animal disease diagnostics, but most importantly, meet the farmers and families who depend on their animals as a livelihood. You have an amazing life, Kate. I just want to say shout out to you for that. Outside of work, Kate enjoys reading nonfiction, hiking, and driving her teenage son to soccer and basketball events. That's so beautiful, so beautiful. Next, okay, we have Tyler Polins. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sorry about that if I didn't. Tyler is originally from Kansas and completed his bachelor's degree in animal sciences with industry with the focus on biotechnology and a minor in entomology at Kansas State University. During his undergrad, he became interested in vector-borne diseases and conducted research on the transmission of pathogens by field flies and ticks. From there, he went to Texas A&M University and completed a PhD in entomology, where his dissertation focused on how on how environmental temperature affected the transmission of viruses by mosquitoes. Yes, we are, Alexa. Tyler is part of the NBAF scientist training program and is currently working as a biological scientist in the scientific liaison services section of the Foreign Animal Disease Diagnostic Laboratory at the National Bio and Agro-Defense Facility. Outside of work, he enjoys riding his motorcycle, playing video games, and playing with his pets. Thank you for coming in, Tyler. I really appreciate that. Next, we have Steve Pauzek. Steve Pauzek has been doing research with high consequence animal pathogens at the Plum Island Animal Disease Center for over 25 years. Wow, that's a lot. That's amazing. Currently, he is a computational biologist in the scientific liaison services section of the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, but spent over 20 years as a microbiologist with the Foreign Animal Disease Research Unit of Agricultural Research Service. He received his Bachelor's of Science degree with a concentration in molecular biology from Long Island University, Southampton campus, and did an overseas internship in a forensic pathology laboratory. Wow, that's really interesting. He completed a Master's of Science degree from the University of Connecticut while working full-time at Plum Island Animal Disease Center. In his spare time, he likes distance running, comic books. I'm a Marvel fan, so hopefully you are too. Scary movies and spoiling his three cats. Okay. Next, we have Dr. Robin Holland. Dr. Robin Holland is the foreign and the director for the Foreign Animal Disease Diagnostic Laboratory in NBAF, which is operated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. In her role as the FADDL director, Holland is overseeing the transition and stand-up of the scientific mission of FADDL from the Plum Island Animal Disease Center to NBAF. Prior to joining NBAF, Dr. Holland was the head of the diagnostic services section of FADDL at Plum Island. In this position, she oversaw the national and international reference laboratory duties of diagnostic testing for high consequence animal diseases, including foot and mouth disease, African swine fever, and classical swine fever. Dr. Holland received a Bachelor's of Science in Agriculture, and she's also received her DVM and PhD in pathobiology. And last but certainly not least, we have Alexa Brinke. Alexa is a microbiologist that has been working at Plum for 17 years, spending most of the time in the DSS PCR lab. For the last few years, she has acted as a NBAF Scientist Training Program Coordinator and has enjoyed being involved in NLTP as much as possible. Prior to coming to Plum Island, Alexa worked in several facilities involved in the field of marine mammal rescue and rehabilitation. She has lived in 5 East Coast states, but is a New Yorker and New Englander at heart. Same here. Outside of work, she is a mom of 2 awesome kids, which I assume is in the picture, running between ice hockey, lacrosse, and theater events. So without further ado, I just want to welcome all the panelists here. So I hope everyone is doing great and doing well. Okay. So for this particular panel, again, I will assign certain panelists questions, but just for this few questions, I kind of want this to be I want this to kind of be just, a kind of a popcorn thing. Maybe have 1 or 2 people kind of answer the question, and then we can kind of go from there. Okay. So the first question I want to ask is, can everyone, anybody from the panelists, can you briefly share your experience in the interview process? Kind of just more so on the emotional aspect. What were your initial feelings when you met with people from the selection committee about your particular position? Can you kind of explain what that was about? And again, I'll let anybody answer if they feel so comfortable. 1 or 2 people.
James,
I can go ahead.
go ahead,
Go
please.
for it.
Please, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say mine's a little bit of a different perspective because I am coming from the NSTP. So the NSTP interview is really what my interview process was for that. Meeting with all of the folks that were on that panel. Alexa was one of those. And it was really clear that you could see the mission and the goals of what your future position would be based on those questions. For me, since it's a diagnostic lab, they were very service oriented. You had the opportunity to ask any questions as well. They're very open, honest. about the whole process and kind of what the expectation was. So appreciated that very much.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I want to get one more person from the panel if you all want to talk.
Yeah, I'm happy to add mine. My name's Steve. I have had one job interview over the last 6 years, and that was for my current position. You asked some of my emotions, fear, trepidation, nerves, all of that goes into it. But um, I used all of the advantages that were available to me. They presented some questions ahead of time. I made sure I was well prepared, able to answer. I tried to guess the additional questions they would ask me. Just a lot of practice, and reminded me way back when of homework and just going over the questions and reviewing and making sure I had an answer to everything. So started off with a lot of nerves, started off with a lot of fear, but I grew to, okay, I think I got this, and I felt pretty confident by the time that phone rang for that interview, so to speak. That's it for me. Over.
Oh yes, Alexa, you raised your hand. You wanted to talk.
Well, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted another answer, but I haven't done an interview in a very long time, and mine was very different than any that we would be doing now. So mine is not very relevant. But I just want to add that from the perspective, I think everyone on this panel has sat on, at least the ones that are at Federal now, have sat on interview panels for other people to do the hiring. And I just want to reiterate that, it's a very short amount of time that we're given to get to know you. So we don't want you to feel nervous. We don't want you to be concerned about if we're judging what you're saying. It's really, we're looking at what you've presented us. We already have your accomplishments, right? Because we usually have all of your CVs and your application ahead of time. So it's not so much that we're looking to hear you say all of those things, but that we're trying to get a sense about who you are. You're our future coworker. So try to relax, try to be yourself as much as you can, and don't worry so much about if you're saying the right thing. Just try to be as much of yourself as you can be. That's my advice.
No, thank you for saying that. And just to provide context, so of course you all know part of the NLTP program. We have the students to kind of look at videos where they look at basically the entire process from looking at a vacancy to interview process. So I want to thank you so much, Alexa, for mentioning that because that was actually one of the highlights of the videos was that, yeah, just to try not to be nervous. Like, again, when people interview you, they kind of already have an idea of what your skills are. So the next step, like you said, also too, with having limited knowledge of who you are, like that should be the time you should really sell yourself and really just let them get to know who you really are on a personal level. So thank you so much. So thank you so much for saying that. So you all have the jobs, right? You all have the jobs. And of course, I kind of want to just point out some of like maybe like the positives and negatives, right? So first, I kind of want to stick with the positive. So can you kind of, excuse me, can you kind of share what was so rewarding about your specific career choice? I'm wondering if I can get one or two people to kind of discuss. Yeah, what's really rewarding about your career choice? I know a lot of folks have been working for 15 plus years, so so I'm thinking obviously there must be something that make you continue to still work there. So I'm wondering what are some of the rewards, some of the benefits that you get from working your particular position? And again, one or two people is perfectly fine.
Sure, I'm Kate. I'll chime in if that's okay. I think going into my position over 20 years ago, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I had a hard time transitioning from research into a more service-based organization. And for me, some of the most rewarding moments have when I've been, I know I mentioned it in my bio, like fortunate enough to travel and meet the people that are outside of the laboratory. They're raising the animals, their whole livelihood depends on the animals that we're trying to keep healthy or diagnose. So that really changed my perspective from more of a laboratory bench focus to kind of a veterinary public health focus for me. So I remember when I'm in the laboratory, maybe doing something a little mundane, I try to think bigger picture.
Thank you so much for that, Kate. Yeah, can I get maybe one more person to talk about what's rewarding about their particular position?
I can chime in on this really quick. I just started my position back in
Yeah.
August. So it's kind of
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. But I would say the most rewarding thing for me so far is like my entire life, I've had really strange interests. I would imagine some other people in this call could relate to that, particularly with like animal diseases and things like that. And to be able to finally make it to a career where I get to like apply those interests every day is really rewarding. So
Okay, thank you for that. And then so now we've kind of talked about some of the rewardings. Now let's kind of shift the conversation a little bit more into the challenges. So again, one or two people from the panel, can you kind of share some of the challenges you faced in working in your position, or not even position, probably just your perspective field in general? Can you kind of share what are some of the challenges were?
I would say that for me, especially being in a fairly busy diagnostic lab for much of my career, the challenge was really kind of staying current. When you're in academia, you have a lot of time to read and you have ability to attend seminars and see what other people are doing. And we have opportunities like that, but sometimes when you're in a workplace where you have, work that needs to get done every day and you have kind of a set schedule, or there are more limitations about time, and it can be hard to really focus and stay current on what's new and what's coming out. And for perspective, when I was doing my graduate degree, real-time PCR had just come out. Like we were the first lab on campus to get the first machine. So I saw quite an exponential growth in molecular, diagnostics, especially. And just to try to keep up with that, I found challenging, but had lots of knowledgeable people on our fatal teams. So that's always been helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, teamwork made the dream work. I love it. Yeah, if I can get anybody else, if they are open to share.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in. So I mean, guess kind of similar to Kate, what she said about, the transition and stuff like that of coming out of grad school and whatever, especially towards the end, it's absolutely insane. And you are in a very specific mindset of going 100 miles an hour. And then you kind of get out of that and join something like the government. And it can feel like you're hitting a brick wall sometimes because the work is just a lot of a different pace. Not that it's necessarily like bad or like slower or anything. It's just a very different environment than academia, and completing a graduate degree. So that transition can be kind of difficult, and it really depends on who's around at that point of what that transition looks like and how much support you have. But it's nice that a lot of times, especially here, there is a good group of people that are around to support and help with that. So.
Thank you for sharing, Tyler. I see, Lisa, you have your hand raised. You wanted to kind of talk about a little bit?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to add in, I think this is kind of what Tyler was getting at without really saying. You have to also recognize we are employees of the federal government. So NBAF is a government lab, and with that comes the politics. Like there's no way of getting around the politics of working for the federal government. They're there, they're always there. And it kind of does take up some time, and it takes some getting used to. You're not just focused on doing the lab work. You're also focused on getting the right paperwork done, getting the right, the results to the right people. It's that kind of stuff too. So.
No, yeah, thank you all for sharing. And I think you all kind of like gave a really good holistic perspective about some of the challenges, right? Because again, I understand that the overall mission may be something very grand, but of course, within that, there's also going to be things that, again, that may not be too pretty. So I want to thank you all for being like really transparent and sharing that, because it's definitely something that's really, really important. I really want to like to kind of share with the students. So next, now this is kind of going to be some specific questions. So I looked into some bios. So I will be asking specific questions to specific people. So the first people I wanted to kind of have this question address will be Robin and Grayson. I'm not sure if Robin's here, but Grayson. So Grace, so you kind of talked about you've transitioned from, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you being in an NSTP program to like now you're being the veterinary medical officer.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. So again, so we have a lot of students here who are animal science majors, who probably obviously probably want to get their DVM. But I noticed that there's some students who probably are in probably haven't took this program because they wanted to see a different path, right? So I wanted to know what made you choose this particular path with your skills and degree that you have in veterinary medicine. Why didn't you go the traditional route and having like your own clinical practice and like, maybe working at a vet hospital? What made you specifically choose to go take your veterinary degree skills and go to this work in this space?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I always usually start my spiel of, hey, I'm a veterinarian, but I always like disclaim that not the cute and cuddly kind. Like I'm not going to see your dog or cat. I'm like doing kind of the behind the scenes veterinary work that keeps our agriculture safe, things like that. I would say how my interest in like diagnostic veterinary medicine and pathology and infectious diseases, that all started probably when I was in the same boat as you, like up until the day I went to my undergrad, which I majored in poultry science, which is similar to animal science, except restricted to poultry. I did think I wanted to be like in general practice and be that kind of veterinarian. I kind of picked poultry science as something to diversify my background. So when I did apply to vet school, it would be, something unique and different. And then I just fell in love with like production animal medicine and how it's like population medicine. You're moving from like the individual animal to a population of animals, which means if you discover what the cause is through diagnostic testing and treat appropriately, you could in theory cure like thousands of animals at once. I also am really interested in like how the dynamics of infectious disease, how they spread, and kind of like the more epidemiology side. And I'm also kind of like a lab rat. Like I had a chemistry set when I was a kid and I like turned it into a lab basement. So when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be a chemist, but now that translates into like, I guess like a biological chemist, if you will. Like doing molecular diagnostics is really fun to me. Some people think it's boring and monotonous, but I love being in the lab. So that was a lot, but that kind of follows up on my weird interest and how I ended up in the job I'm in. So I hope that makes sense.
No, absolutely that does. And yeah, and again, I think that's also one of the beauties about the NLTP programs because we want to like introduce students to there's other ways for you to, to use your DVM degree or your animal science degree. Like you don't necessarily have to go the traditional route. There's many other beautiful and amazing ways that you can actually tackle animal health, animal diseases, but without necessarily doing the traditional route. So thank you. So thank you for sharing that.
Well said.
Next up, we have Kate and Steve. Hi, Kate and Steve. So again, I read your bios, and for one, shout out to you all. You all have like worked in this space for like about 15 plus years, and so obviously, kind of what Alexa kind of alluded to. There's a lot of change. There was a lot of changes. I know specifically Alexa talked about the technology, about it just PCR just kind of just being a thing, right? Again, that kind of just and kind of alluding more towards that progression, right? Of like how you worked and things like that. So can you kind of share your career, what your career progression looked like over the years? Do you think that it was a progression for the better? Do you think, there's some challenges within it? Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Hey, do you want to go first?
You can take the floor.
Okay. I'm happy to start and tell you where I went wrong. Uh, I was getting my bachelor's degree and I did an internship at a forensic pathology lab in Scotland at literally the lab associated with Scotland Yard. And again, I've been doing this for a while, so this is a long time ago. This was definitely before any of the CSI shows where, in the span of 30 minutes, they analyze a crime scene and they've got the DNA results, right? So we didn't have that technology back then. And that was my plan. I had the internship. I had a job lined up for after this, and I immersed myself in that world, and I'm thankful I did because I found out it wasn't for me. I could not do that career, that work, that environment was not for me. So, I just spent the last, 6 years planning for this, and now what do I do? I wanted to be a detective, and I decided, well, if I can't be a detective in the traditional sense, I want to be a detective of viruses. So I had good relations with my academic people in my undergraduate degree, and she says, well, I can get you an internship at the Plum Island Animal Disease Center doing some molecular work. I know that's what you wanted to do in the forensics lab, but maybe you could do it here. And honestly, the rest is history, and that just being able to pivot when you encounter something, or acknowledge this isn't my path. Okay, well, chart a new one. So I feel learning that maybe a somewhat hard lesson early on really, really helped me, and will get to where I am today. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Steve. I think some of the most valuable experiences I've had have been outside of the classroom. So Steve and I actually went to the same undergraduate program, or school, I should say, and they had great experiential education opportunities, both on campus, off campus. It just gives you the opportunities to go and immerse yourself um, with different people, different perspectives, and really help guide you. Like Steve mentioned, how he changed course, I changed course too during one of my internships, and fell in love with arboviruses of all things. But yeah, I think if you ever feel like you're stuck in a rut, to see if there's those opportunities to, step outside of what you're currently doing and go interact with something that scares you a little bit, perhaps, should I say. So, but then over the years at Plum Island, um, started out, very junior scientist. And over time, with the experiences that's been provided to me, I've been able to, have career progression. And I just had my most recent change in title and interview. I think it was just this past summer. So even though I've been there a long time, things are still happening. Thank you.
No, thank you all for sharing it. I wanted to highlight that question because, again, I think that's something that I think uh, upcoming students, again, who are going into like being veterinarians and trying to, I guess some people still have a traditional route, but again, I wanted to kind of underscore like, no, you can still be able to do things, and even when you're actually in your position, you still have to like find a way to wiggle and navigate, right? So it's just like whether you're working going getting your DVM degree, or whether if you're actually a veterinarian, or if you're a biological scientist or anything in that field, like it's going to change. And so I just want to thank you all, Steve and Kate, for kind of like mentioning that even though you all were like in this particular agency, that you all kind of shifted and moved a little bit within your career. So thank you so much for that. And like I said, congratulations on your journey. I know it's a lot, but I'm glad you all made it. And wish you the best. Okay. Now I want to shift a little bit more into the NSTP program. So I do have Alexa here, who is the program coordinator. And so again, there are some students here who are about to be recent graduates, and there's also some graduate folks in here as well. So Alexa, can you real quick just kind of give a brief overview of what the NSTP program is and what maybe some of the benefits?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the NSTP program was designed to bridge the gap between the closure of Plum Island and the opening of NBAF. We knew that we would lose some of our very seasoned staff and subject matter experts, and because our field is so specialized, and because of the weight of the service that our agency provides, we really needed to do the most that we could to stand up new subject matter experts as early as possible. So the way that we approached this was that they designed a program where we identified current graduate students that were already in a program and who were in line with kind of this foreign animal disease diagnostics or emerging disease work, or excuse me, in some aspect with the mission of FADL. So we started by partnering with a select few schools just to kind of guinea pig the program. and expanded ever since then. So now we're partnering with 15 schools. We've had 26 fellows. I think we only have a few left that are going to be graduating next year. And for all intents and purposes, the program has kind of run its course. The way the program worked was tuition was covered by the fellowship, as well as provided a stipend, university fees, that kind of thing. And once the students completed their academic program, there was a service commitment that was dependent on the length of time that they were funded for, whereby they would pay back the time and stay with the agency, specifically at either NBAF or FADL or, one of our sister labs where their expertise would be needed. Having said that, and I'm sorry to say, we're kind of at a pause right now because we have fulfilled the staffing quota that we needed to, and that the program was designed and allowed to do. We've kind of taken up as many positions as we were given. But as NBAF keeps growing and as things keep changing and the transition happens, we do anticipate there will be some openings. I'm not sure what the future of the program looks like. It will probably look a little different, but it's not going away. So if you are interested in the NSTP, if you're going to be applying to grad school, we target grad students in their second or third year, kind of after they've gotten their feet wet in their program. And we send out announcements for applications and then you apply. So if you're interested, keep your eyes open. You can always contact myself or Lisa or anybody at FADL, and they can point you in the right direction when the time is ready for you, if that's something, and just ask where the program is at. I hope right now we're not accepting applications for 25, but I'm hoping that we'll have something going by 26. So does that answer your question? Does it?
Oh, that was perfect.
Everything you were hoping for?
No, yes, no, that was perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
And so speaking of, I wanted to kind of give the floor to Tyler and Michelle, because again, upon reading their bios, I think Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, you're currently an NSTP fellow, and Michelle, you're a former. Did I get that right? Or
Yeah, I mean, we're both like at NBAF now, so we both graduated and are.
you both? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, I guess being a part of the program, can you kind of talk a little bit more about your experience as an NSTP fellow, and just kind of talk a little bit more on what were some of the challenges that you had with balancing out with the requirements trying to meet with NSTP and like your graduate program requirements. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. I mean, I guess I'll go first. I mean, as far as like the NSTP went, there really was like it was actually a pretty great program from our perspective. There really wasn't heavy requirements from the USDA, and they actually just provided a ton of support for conducting the research that you wanted to do in graduate school, and they were very flexible on anything. Providing like even travel funds yearly if you wanted to go to conferences or any trainings. And like I said, very little needed back while you were in graduate school. So there really wasn't a whole lot to balance other than just doing a biannual report to the NSTP program. But yeah, I mean, as far as I would say, as far as a fellowship program goes, funding wise and support wise, it's probably the best you could ever ask for. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely second that with what Tyler said. And I will say one of the really big benefits for my program anyway, it provided more of a structure. So the program that I was in was very PI dependent. There weren't a lot of benchmarks that you were required to meet. And I think that having Alexa and some others have that framework of the program itself really helped guide that a little bit more in a more meaningful way, I guess I will say. So I came out of a program where you might have somebody who's been doing their PhD for 8 years. it's just kind of like you're lost in the woods kind of a thing. So I really did appreciate that. And having been out of that now too, I really do appreciate how separate they kept, like Tyler said, they, we had one job, it was graduate, get all of that subject matter expertise under our belt to go straight into our positions. But yeah, having been on the other side of that, there is that very clear delineation. Like anytime we even think, oh, well, this person has this expertise, they're like, no, they're still in the program. We're not bothering them. We're going to, pivot to a different subject matter expert for that question. So very supportive, very helpful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that. This last question, I'm going to say, and then for the audience, feel free to put your questions in the chat. And then of course I'll answer them after. I'll ask them after after this final question I have. And this is I'm kind of want to come back to the group. Can you kind of just say like what are some of the misconceptions about working in a high containment facility? I can know immediately for me, I'll automatically think like people think of viruses. They're like, whoa, danger. It's like danger, stranger danger, right? There's just so much people think there's like so much happening. I'm curious to know, which I don't think, which in my personal opinion, I don't think that's probably that bad. Because again, you probably have a lot of regulatory practices and procedures to make sure you're like well contained. But outside of that, yeah, what are some other misconceptions you think that the general public seems to have about working in high containment facilities? And just one or two people will be fine.
Well, I think the big one, especially for those of us that have spent time on Plum, is that we're doing secret things, and we're cooking up all kinds of nasty things that nobody's allowed to know about. People assume that because you're in containment, there's something secret about what you're doing. And the reality is it's just like any other lab. It's just contained in a space. Everything we do is for public service, so everything is on the open, and there are no secrets about what we do. We did not create some nasty virus and unleash it into the general public. That's not our jam. So
yes, please thank you for saying that. No, it's not no Frankenstein project or anything. It's is there another misconception anyone can kind of share about working in a high containment facility?
I do want to say one very quick remark, and somebody else can say something longer after me if you want. Just yes, you do have to shower out of containment, but you also really get used to it. Like it's not as terrible as you can imagine that it is, because if you're a modest person, you're probably thinking that's like, nope, no way, can't do it. You really do get used to it. Everyone's doing it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to the chat. To everyone on here, feel free to, I'm just going to give y'all maybe a couple of minutes. If y'all have any questions you want to ask the panel, again, if they all are here to answer any questions or concerns or inquiries that you all may have about working in a high biocontainment facility, things of that nature. So feel free. All right, if there are no questions, let me see. Okay, so I have one. Okay, wait, let me read this one real quick. So next one said another misconception is that we are all in space suits. No, we're not. Okay. Also, okay, you wanted to say something? I'm gonna let you have the floor.
Yeah, I was wondering, I don't want to take any time from students if they have questions. I was wondering if we could ask the students a couple questions.
No, that's perfectly fine. I did have one question.
Yeah.
There was one question that says, do you regret working in this field or not? And if yes, what would be your first option if you didn't work in the high containment facility? So maybe I guess I can start with you, Kate, and maybe I can get another.
Sure. The only thing that really gets to me, and if anyone is graduating can tackle this for me, I will be so appreciative, is we work with a number of viruses that are considered to be select agents. And what that means, we have to track them to like this tube level. And of course, working for the federal government means that we don't exactly have anything high tech to track them with. So I'm hopeful, like with the next generation of scientists, the students that we're interacting with today, that new legislation can be proposed to one, maintain that, I guess, the public trust, but also allow the scientists to efficiently do their work. I know, in my opinion, the United States is behind in this type of work we do because we spend so much time tracking what we do. So that's my feedback.
No, thank you. No, thank you for sharing that. I wanted to, someone else wanted to answer the question, and then we can, I can pass it back to you, Kate, if you had any questions you wanted to ask the students. Yeah, did anyone else? So I'm gonna repeat the question. Do you regret working in this field? And if yes, what would be your first option if you didn't work in a high containment facility?
I'll jump in. I don't regret working in my field, but I do look at climate science a lot now. And I think that if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably veer more into something climate related, just because of how seriously I take that. So I think we need more climate scientists now as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Kate, just real quick, I'm gonna this one more question, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you have, I'm gonna let you have the floor. The next one is another question from Kennedy asks, how many floors are there? I take it that's the NBAF facility in Manhattan, Kansas. How many floors are there? Are there different experiments on each floor? Yeah, does someone want to talk about that?
I can chime in. So a lot of the things in terms of this facility size and all of that are misconceptions. I can't dive into what goes on and all of that just for security purposes, but I can tell you that it's one level. It's everything's on one level for the laboratories.
Okay, thank you for that, Michelle. Yeah, now I'm gonna pass the floor to you, Kate. You wanted there was some questions you wanted.
Sure. And if, wait. Okay, I'm on mute. I guess I was wondering what are some of the interests of the students, and what have some of been the highlights of their programs, and maybe some of the lowlights of their programs. And I guess I should just leave it at 2 questions for now. I have a lot of questions, but yeah, highlights and lowlights of their programs.
If folks feel comfortable, if you all feel comfortable talking on the speaker, I don't think I muted anyone. So feel free to speak. Or if you just want to put your answer on the chat, feel free to do that as well. Because I'm actually curious too. You want to pick your brains a little bit. Want to see how you feel. So I guess we could actually start with the first question. Can you repeat the first question, Kate?
Sure. I just wonder what some highlights or things that they're always will remember from their current program, and are people that are on in different programs, correct? I believe you said there's some people in undergraduate, some people in graduate level.
Yes.
Just learning about like the different, different programs that are represented here today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what degree programs are folks repping? I know it's some animal science people. So y'all go ahead and put that in the chat. We got some animal science people in the building. I know we have an agribusiness. Like, where y'all at? I need y'all to show out a little bit. But yeah, there's definitely a huge there's definitely it's very diverse. Yeah, like I said, from people from animal science. We have people so real quick, you all are sending me direct messages. I think you all should put it on put it on everyone. But yeah, we have some biology. We have folks from we got agricultural science, pre-vet. We also have people from Tuskegee here. We also have some folks from Southern University. Shout out to Southern. We got some folks from North Carolina A&T. Shout out to y'all too. Okay. So rep your degrees. Come on, y'all. So as you can see, we have a lot of folks. we have a lot of some animal ag science, pre-vet, animal veterinary medicine, things of that nature. And I see, I can read this one message. It says, one highlight from Amaya. It says, my highlight was when we identified the bones for a lab. And my major is veterinary science. So shout out to you, Amaya, for identifying some bones in the lab. Okay, so then we have one for I hope I'm saying this right, Chermaya Pope. My major is animal science, and I have interest in biotechnology and genetics. Well, I must say that's really, really good. It's really good. But yeah, we have people from like different areas of the university, and also again, we majority we have a lot of folks in animal science pre-vet. So, but shout out to everyone who wrote on the chat and everything. What was the can you tell me what was the second question, Kate?
Sure, thank you. No, this is a great group here. Animal science, veterinary medicine. I want to get into marine veterinary medicine. I don't know if Alexa has any background or comments on that one. I guess either I was interested in what have been some challenges during your program, and or what are your considerations or concerns about the future? One or the other. Concerns now or concerns for the future?
Yeah. And feel free, you don't have to put a whole sentence, just put one word. If you just put one word, one word that you like concerned about. Is it money? Is it maybe your career? Is it, work-life balance? I'm curious to know how folks in the chat. If it will get harder, yes. If it will get harder, yes. I think that's definitely important. But I think that's what a lot of the panels were kind of alluding to, is that there are going to be some challenges. But I think one of the things I think was really important that they said was that they would find ways to adapt. They found ways to pivot. When they found something that really didn't serve them, it was like, okay, let me go ahead and just like seek opportunities someplace else that really fits, my interest and like what I really want to bring to the table. Okay, so we got Akinyemi and animal science, vet science. Yeah, I want to get into marine vet med. Okay. Mariah says information retention is so much to learn. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. And then yeah, we got some couple of pluses. But thank you for that question, Kate. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna read a couple of others. Kennedy says learning the different diseases. Yeah, that bugs can spread, or arboviruses can use to, like, not viruses but arbor diseases. Vet school, as an introvert, networking is tough, but it is fantastic to knowing where to pivot when need to. So shout out to you. Oh, that was Lisa. Shout out to you for that. Gabriel says work-life balance. Yes, work-life balance. And last, I'm gonna say this last one. Jakari says, yes, definitely the information retention. I get afraid I won't remember everything. So actually, thank you for mentioning these questions, Kate, because that will actually be the segue to my last and final question, is that if there is only one thing you hope that everyone from the audience today can take away from this conversation, what would that be? And this is actually, I want to give it to everyone on the panel. So of course, it can kind of just be like popcorn style. So if there's one thing that you want everyone from this space to take away from this conversation, what would that be?
I'll take the easy cliche one, and that is have an open mind and be open to literally every opportunity that comes before you. That's the only way that, like, if you would have told me I'd be doing today like 10 years ago, I would have laughed, but because I kind of kept an open mind, and like something came along and I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that, but I'll try it and see if I like it. Like poultry science instead of animal science, for instance. I didn't know anything about, poultry production going into college, but that like stemmed into this whole thing. And so just keep an open mind would be my piece.
I would say don't feel rushed. There's this tendency to feel like you have to finish and you have to finish on time. If information retention is hard and you feel like you need to slow down. The world's not going anywhere. You've got time. So I feel like a lot of times people stifle themselves because they feel like they have to be done. And then they don't take opportunities that if they took would open up something great for them. So don't be afraid to do that.
Another, sorry, money does matter, obviously, right? We gotta buy and place to live and eat, but you have to enjoy what you do. And there has to be that certain level of getting out of bed and feeling, okay, I'm going to take enjoyment from my day. There really should be that with whatever career path you're looking for. And if it's not there, if you lose that at some point, you might think, okay, I need to evaluate and maybe try something else on. So that's my thought.
I was also going to jump in and say, in my instance, just for instance, I have my bachelor's and I stopped there, and I have been at Plum for 18 years now, and I do steadily get promotions and I do steadily apply for promotions. You don't need to have a huge further education, you know, like if education is not for you, if after your bachelor's you're like, okay, that's it, I want to work, I don't want to further it, you can still climb the ladder in your life, you know, your career is still going.
I'll pivot a little bit. I would say for both work and life, find something that you have passion that drives you. I would say that your extracurriculars are just as, if not more important than your formal education. That's what makes you feel like a whole person and gives you that recharge to be able to come in and do what you need to do for school, for your job, for any of those things, and to be fully present.
Yeah, I'll go after Michelle. I think what I've learned over my years at work and in my personal life is to remind myself that nothing is permanent. So even those really tough days or really tough months, that is going to pass. And also the real highlights of my days or great trips or the people I meet, to remember that those are not permanent either, and that I really need to stop and appreciate the good things as well. So for me, my takeaway is nothing is permanent, the good or the bad. Thank you.
I guess to kind of hit on just some of the other stuff people have said, but then kind of add a little bit more to it, even though it's really important to be flexible and to be open-minded and all of this. I doubt any of us would have gotten where we are now without having some sort of structured plan in place also. So, having some sort of, this is where we're going, this is where we want to go, here's how I'm going to get there. Even if we didn't end up there, at least we had a goal we were working towards. And I think that's really important of, your life isn't necessarily on a railroad track. You can move around and do other things, but it is important to have that structure of moving towards something and not just being aimless and hoping you end up in the right place.
Okay, was that everyone? I feel like everyone spoke, right? Okay, I think we're all good. So on behalf of Tuskegee University and NLTP, I want to thank everyone from NBAF and FADDL for participating. I want to give a special shout out to Lisa. Thank you for making this panel, organizing this panel. I just wanted to give you this a nice
Thank
clap.
you.
Like, woo, yay. Thank
James,
you so much.
I always love the Tuskegee panels. You guys are great.
Yes. and again, thank you for just organizing this great diverse group of panelists from it's been diverse from like degrees to like specific interest. And I just want to thank you all for kind of sharing your perspective. And I definitely want to thank you all for just taking the time out your day. I know it's between 4 to 5. I know it may even be a little after work or not so, but again, I just want to thank you all for being a part of this panel. And again, thank you for being part of Tuskegee NLTP. And we are going to conclude the panel So the panelists, you all can feel free to leave because I will definitely be giving them some announcements. If you all can just drop a nice heart, okay, or a check or something, just to kind of thank the panelists for being here and sharing their perspectives and expertise. If you all can just do that for me, I'm gonna do that myself. Some heart emojis. See, they showing y'all nothing but love. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having us and thanks for organizing. That's what we're here for. So if you ever have any questions after this, don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
And my last comment in the chat was, if any of the students get to go to conferences, look for FADL. If they're animal conferences, usually somebody's there. So come and find us and talk to us. We want to talk to you.
Yes. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and